So apparently a lot of our footage has no audio, so this video is going to be another voiceover. It picks up straight from where the last one left off. So we've just got back from B&Q. We'll give you a rundown on all the things we bought. Then we're going to move into building the pantry, then the cooker housing and cladding the sliding door. Enjoy! Hello and welcome to our channel. We're Jojo and Scott. We live in the Highlands of Scotland. In August last year, we took on a big challenge. We bought a bright yellow van ready to turn into a camper. It's been a much bigger job than we expected, from ripping out the filthy interior, scrubbing away at the grime, to finding some nasty surprises. It's been a hell of a ride, with loads of ups and downs. We'd love for you to join us on this journey, as we take a filthy ex-fleet vehicle, strip it back to the basics, and build up a tiny home on wheels. Thank you so much for watching. Hello and welcome to another instalment of Scott and Jojo in the van. We just got back from B&Q at this point. Now, to kind of fill you in on the background, we don't have a car and we're very far away from the nearest city, so we hadn't been to B&Q since...
months.
I mean,
Almost
this was...
more than a year, I think.
Yeah, this was mid-April, so we'd taken the van because we had to go to the city anyway to go to the dentist. So we'd kind of tried to decide what things do we need to pick out individually. So that was Scott showing you the splashback for the cooker.
Yep. The splashback will protect the pantry from the open flame of the cooker itself.
Yeah, so that's what that is. So next up we have the ceiling cladding.
We decided to go for PVC ceiling cladding to try and go for a lighter option up high. And if we keep the things that are up high lighter, then we hopefully get to reduce our centre of mass, and then the van's not quite as top heavy.
Yeah, and we've gone for wood cladding for the walls. It's a bit cheaper, easy to work with, and you can paint it any colour you like as well.
Bit of a balancing act.
Yeah, just trying to make the best. Yeah, the PVC cladding is very lightweight, but it's also quite expensive. So.
It was also a thing we wanted to buy in person, because when we looked at it online, the pictures were terrible, and we wanted to make sure that the stuff actually looked nice.
Yeah.
So.
Next up, we have my favourite purchase of the day.
Oh, love this stuff.
Yeah. The reason I love it so much is because of this. Look at that.
It was on clearance.
Yeah.
It was less than half price.
Yeah.
It was £44 and we got it for £20 per pack.
Yeah, so this stuff is luxury vinyl click flooring. It's waterproof, durable.
Super durable, gosh.
So that should go well in the van. What else do we have
These
here?
are electrical back boxes. This is what we'll connect all of our outlets and switches to. We got these at 25mm thick, deep, so they're the same depth as the sticks that all the furniture is made out of.
Yeah, so they should fit in the walls quite well. And why did we go for metal ones again?
Metal ones were cheaper. They'll probably be a little bit easier to connect when we're putting them inside the walls like this.
Yeah.
I would have liked to go for plastic in some cases. Maybe we still will. Oh, screws.
Yeah.
Gosh. So the shop was so sold out of screws. We wound up, but we needed lots of screws. So we got this massive box of plasterboard screws.
That was literally the only option they had in that screw size that we needed. Which it turns out they don't go into wood well.
They're quite frictitious.
We would not recommend buying those types of screws.
Next up is the tap.
Tap for the sink. We'll see if that works. We don't know.
Fingers crossed. It looks nice. Oh, and it's the toilet seat.
And the toilet's going to go right in the middle of the living space of the van. That will be fun.
Here.
We'll just have to get used to that.
Yeah, central pooping station.
Thanks, Scott. So now what Scott's trying to do is he's bending the gas pipe to get it out the way so that we can start building our pull-out pantry.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we'd been framing out in the last video.
Yeah. The pipe was just a big coil of pipe. It was in the way.
And then the next issue we had, so we'd framed out the front of the pantry, that was quite good, but we needed to frame out the back of the pantry.
And we had nowhere in particular to connect this stick to. So this was a good while of pondering to figure this thing out.
Yeah, up at the top there where I'm pointing to, there's a lot of air gaps, so there's not a lot to attach to. And directly on the other side, we've got the sliding door runner. So if we go too deep, we could potentially mess up the door. So we had to be super careful here.
Yeah, really tricky. So we wound up deciding to just project a big stick out from the bits that we knew were safe to drill into.
Yeah, so that was the end of that day. And this day the countertop arrived. So we'd gone for a solid wood butcher block style because it looks really nice, and that's the thing that's mainly going to be on display in the van. We'd gone for half the thickness of a normal countertop to save a bit of weight. Right, so now we're back to Scott building out the pantry. So this was quite technically difficult.
Yeah, it's tricky. You can't use a spirit level. So the best you can do is try and make these pantry baskets sort of parallel to the floor. And the best we could do was build the things up into the position we want them and try and clamp them in place.
And we had to have a support beam for each runner, and they had to be perfectly parallel, because if they're not parallel, the pantry won't pull out.
Yeah, you're getting a kind of weird scissor business going on.
Yeah, so we just had to kind of go really slowly and put each basket in and carefully measure angles and...
Yep.
And we're not even sure if we've built the front of the thing straight.
I think it's just a wee bit off, but you can't really see it.
Yeah, so that made it even more difficult. So you can see at the top there, Scott's had to cut funny bits of wood, and yeah, I think that's what we're trying to explain.
Yeah, just odd ways of packing the thing out to get it to just fit and go together.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole building out the pull-out pantry took about, what was it, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I'd say it was about 2 weeks of
Yeah.
just, how does this go together?
I mean, not working every day, we do have other jobs, but yeah, kind of 2 weeks of evenings and weekends
That's it.
trying to figure out this thing. Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Here we are, we have puzzled out the pantry, and this is the last basket going on.
A bit of a celebration at this point.
Oh gosh, it was a tough slog to get to here, but whew, so glad.
Yeah, so I guess what Scott's doing just now is he's got planks of wood that he's attaching individually to the back wall. So he has to just carefully build up each bit behind with a separate plank of wood at whatever angle the van is.
Matching curves.
The problem is we couldn't build the pantry and then put it in the van, because it's so tall and the van's got horrible curves and angles
It's
everywhere.
just so tricky.
The only way you could have built it and then brought it in is if you were really good at angles, and
Oh gosh.
maybe some carpenter would be able to do it and joiner.
Yeah, I just can't
but-
imagine how to do it otherwise.
But we're certainly not that. We're amateurs here, so
We're building this thing in.
we just had to build each bit as we went. And Scott's finally got the
Yeah, it's the
upper
last basket.
support beams in place. So we're just getting the last basket to fit. So this is how we kind of did it for each level.
Just build them up on top of each other. Gets the spacing kind of equal. And it's done all of a sudden.
Finally.
Look at these things pull out. The runners are soft close, so it kind of holds them in, and then you have to pull quite hard to get them out.
Yeah, so we've driven around in the van with these things in place, and
Does
they've
not budge.
they've not budged at all. Whether that'll change when they're full of food,
We'll find out.
we will find out.
But if we need to make adjustments, look at that, sturdy. But yeah, if we need to make any more adjustments, we will.
But quite happy with that. So the next thing we needed to tackle was the cooker housing. So we'd set aside a weekend for this. We were like, this weekend we're going to build the cooker housing, it's going to be done. So on Saturday morning we got up to do it, and we started building it. And then what did we realise?
We realised that the cooker housing was going to completely block the door, so we wouldn't be able to get to clad the door in the future.
Yeah, so especially where the pantry is, there's that really awkward corner that you just can't get to. So we'd have to either take the cooker housing out or take the door off
Yeah.
to clad it in the future.
We're not taking that door off. I
Nope.
refuse.
Nope. So we figured we have to, instead of doing the cooker housing, we'll have to clad the door first.
Of course.
So we went over many different options. We decided wood cladding was the easiest. So
Yeah.
we started with a big sheet of ply for the lower level.
Yeah, we want to be able to get back into there, so we thought one big piece, remove it, then we have access again.
So that's Scott cutting out an interesting shaped piece for the bottom section. It was fairly easy to cut out and attach, except for the fact that we built a pantry in the way.
Yeah,
In hindsight, we should have done the door before.
we should have just done that
Yeah,
long before.
Should have done that first, but we were not going to take the pantry out.
Not a chance.
No. And then we realised that we cut the panel kind of in alignment with the old panel, so we'd put that curve in, which looked lovely. But we realised we didn't actually need to do that.
Yeah, we wanted to put wood panelling, like planks, above it, And so that just meant that we had to put another bit of funny wood in. Luckily, the height in the curve was exactly the height of one plank, which we have here.
Yeah, so we only had to cut one in that strange angle. It would have been a much better idea just to square it off.
Yeah.
Although it does look nice like that.
It looks really smart. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
But just because we've padded the door out with insulation, so there's no longer the need to kind of conform to that.
Yeah.
The issue with cladding the door was there were still a lot of dips in it.
So we had to build it out with blocks to attach the planks to, which was fine ultimately, but it was tricky.
It was tedious, and doing this door took it the entire day on Saturday, didn't it?
Yeah.
That we wanted to be doing the cooker housing.
Yep. Every task we find, we have to do a different task to get to it.
Yep. So we drilled some of the screws straight into the metalwork, some into wooden blocks that were drilled into the metalwork.
Other planks were just glued in place.
And we discovered there's a lot of things in the door that you don't want to be drilling into,
Yep.
so it was just slow work.
Very
And
slow work.
There was angles everywhere on both sides of the door.
Yep. Every plank was a try it, test it, go chop it 5 more times.
So that was cladding the door. So here Scott is padding out the upper
Yep.
section.
There's a big dip there that needed blocked out to be able to attach more planks.
And that was thanks to the fact that we'd insulated that.
Yeah, the insulation protruded more from the metal, so we had to just follow the gaps we'd made.
Let's work with what we've got. Oh, thank goodness, we're nearly done.
Oh gosh. This is getting late in the day by this point.
Yeah, we're getting quite tired. And there we go. So
Done.
we finished it up on the Saturday. I've started sanding the bottom as well, ready for painting. So we thought we'll get it painted early on Sunday, and
Yep.
then we can get the cooker housing built. It'll be easy.
We had some old paint left over from doing up the house.
And I opened the tub, and what was growing in it?
Mold!
Like some kind of penicillin or something. It was like proper fungal
Yeah, it was
spores
strange.
everywhere.
So we had the decision of should we use this paint and potentially paint mold spores into the van?
No, I put my foot down. I was like, we're not bringing mold into this van. So the only other paint we had was a primer. So that's what it had to be. So the primer is very patchy and uneven, but at least it's got
Yeah, it's got protection. And in hindsight, primer's probably the best thing to
primer is
use.
probably needed. So yeah, we've painted up the lower panel, and that means at least we can get started on the cooker housing. Oh, there it is. Done.
All of a sudden, we had to kind of rush this bit because it was really fiddly, it was getting late, and it's really hard to make these measurements, and it's not obvious how to film it while we do it.
Yeah.
So it suddenly kind of just materialized on film.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, we had to lie the cooker on its side
Yeah.
and trace the edge of it because it's got very specific points that need attachments. So you just have to make sure that the housing conforms to this. The cooker's heavy, so you
Yes.
can't just hold it in place.
I wished it could have just floated there.
Yeah, that's what he kept shouting. He kept shouting, I need the cooker floating. I'm like, no, you need to come up with another solution to build this. No, it was getting ridiculous. We didn't film it for good reasons. But
Oh, that's the patchy paint.
oh yeah,
It's fine.
it doesn't look great, but we will paint over that. And I think even with the cooker housing in place, we can still reach through it to
Yep.
finish up the paint job.
The important bit was getting the panels screwed in.
Yeah, because that was going to be impossible to reach once
Yeah.
the
Absolutely.
once everything else goes in place. So yeah, that's the result on the door.
There's just a few more supports on this cooker unit to go together. The cooker that we've chosen for our van is a Tetford Triplex. We wanted this one because it's got 3 gas burners on it, and it also has a really good sized oven
And a grill.
and a grill.
Yeah.
Look
So-
at these lovely hobs. These little holes here are where the cooker attaches, so we had to mark up the whole cooker frame to match these little points, and that's what made it quite tricky to build the thing out.
We've chosen to put the cooker here because the idea is we can cook with the door open, and then all the fumes and everything from the cooking will escape out the door. So that's why we've gone for that location.
Here we're just attaching another little support because the plywood is thick, but it's not as thick as it could be, so we're giving it some extra support here. Just a vertical piece to help hold it all together.
That was kind of the theory we went about with building all the furniture, is put together the basic elements we need, see where is still a bit flimsy.
Then reinforce.
Yeah, and attach more support structures to that.
It seems to have gone well so far.
Yeah.
Also, clamp, clamp, clamp. Can't have enough of those things.
Yeah, need lots and lots of clamps. The difficult thing was getting the height of those beams at the back just right to support the cooker.
That was really tricky.
So that it can rest on the ply at the side. It's starting to come together.
It really is. It's really taking shape. Really happy with how it looks. Here we ran into a problem. So we ordered 25 by 50mm sticks to build all this stuff from. But we ordered some from Juicin and some from Travis Perkins. And turns out they're not exactly all 25 by 50. So this stick I've got here is actually slightly thicker. So I had to chisel bits out of it.
Yeah, because otherwise you're left with a step there and we can't rest a piece of countertop.
Yeah, that's where the countertop is going. It's going around the cooker itself.
So we can't rest that on top of a stepped piece of wood.
Not at all.
So it wasn't just a simple case of screw the bits of wood together.
It's chisel out millimeters from the stick and then screw it down.
Yes. You're looking a bit fed up there, Scott.
Yeah, I was fed up. It's just a problem that you don't expect and you don't need. You're already tired. And then we go, oh wait, the wood itself is different just because we bought it from a different place. Well, nothing to do but solve that. Here we go. I had chiseled it down and it fits perfecto.
Yeah.
Look at that craftsmanship.
Much. A very flush fit.
Yep, that's it. Ready for a countertop on top.
Just problems like these that you don't think of.
Why would you ever think that you're going to get wood of a different size even though you ordered the same
It's
size?
supposed to be 25mm.
Oh well, that's that one solved. Here's the test fit of the cooker. Look how good that thing looks. It fits perfectly.
Yes, there's nothing else in the van but a floating cooker.
We're accounting for the left side with a little block that's exactly the thickness of the countertop. And the right side, the cooker's sitting on the ply. And oh gosh, look how good that looks. It's just sticks and a sheet of ply, but gosh, it looks almost done.
Yes, I know we were quite happy with that fit.
Very happy with it.
So the next problem to tackle
is the gas manifold. Oh, this one's a pain. The massive coil of copper pipe there it's just too big to work with, but we need enough pipe that's long enough to actually extend to this little gas manifold I'm holding. So the first thing I had to do was chop off a lot of the excess, but leave the thing long enough to still be able to chop off little bits to be able to match up the length to the manifold. Oh, it was tricky. Bit of a faff.
we decided the manifold should go under the cooker because the vent's there as well. So if any gas escapes.
Best to keep all the gas connections together. First thing was to put the manifold together. This little bit here is sort of just an end cap. You can remove it in the future if you want to extend more connections from the manifold itself. But we don't want to do that, so we're just putting this end cap on, and that's it, ready to go. Here we go. Screwing it in. Secure. Now onto the other end, where we actually attach the pipe.
Same again.
That's now ready to go.
So you've just attached the piece there that you can attach the copper pipe onto,
Yeah.
Is that correct?
It's the copper pipe connector. That little thing's there in olive, that goes over the pipe, and then the brass nut pushes the olive in place and makes a nice sealed connection. So that's just chopping off all of the excess, but leaving enough pipe to manipulate this thing and still have it plenty long enough to get in place. Bending this thing is tricky. You can't bend it too sharply, so you have to just make tiny little adjustments.
And it's raining again. Of course it's raining.
The rain can't just stay off when we need to actually have the door open.
So poor Scott's down in the dark, in the cooker.
That cooker space doesn't quite fit me.
He's fighting with the pipe down there.
So I bent it into shape some more and chopped off tiny little bits until it was just the right length.
Oh, I think the rain stopped now, so we can have a bit of light in
Thank
here.
goodness for that.
That's much better.
Fresh air too.
Yeah, so it's just now to
Pretty much just putting the thing together. A few last finishing touches.
trim the pipe down, attach it to the
Fifth trim.
manifold, and then we're ready to put the cooker in.
Yeah, that's the gas supply finally connected up.
So I think that's all for today. That's the pantry ready, the cooker housing done, and the sliding door cladded. So I think next week we get onto a bit more of the furnishings.
Oh, can't wait.